of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, allow me to start with that, Madam Speaker. And I want to laud the President because he pronounced himself clearly, even his meeting with women leaders, Madam Speaker, and committing even resources to fight this menace, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it cannot be normal that in the last 3 months, we have about 97 women who have been killed, mostly by intimate partners, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that means every month we have lost 30 women to gender-based violence, Madam Speaker. And even today, we have woken up to a woman being raped and stabbed in Murang'a. We have woken up yesterday to another one in Nakuru, every in Laikipia. It cannot be normal, Madam Speaker. And I think the disconnect we are having right now is that the President pronounces himself, but the people supposed to take action are sleeping on the job. Madam Speaker, we have not had a statement from the Interior Ministry, even today, condemning these incidences, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last year, a girl in my constituency, Jasmine Joki, from Kasambara village in Barok, was raped and killed brutally. A 12-year-old was raped and killed in broad daylight, Madam Speaker, as she left school. Madam Speaker, that was September 12, 2023. Suspects were arrested, DNA was harvested. It took 6 months to actually hear of that DNA again. Why? It was taken to Kisumu because we don't have any testing center in Nakuru. We don't have a testing center in Eldoret. We don't have testing centers in so many of these counties, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Interior will boast and say, we have spent billions in buying equipment to modernize our fighting equipment, Madam Speaker. Why is it so hard to spare small shillings to buy reagents that we wait for from South Africa to test for DNA to be able to tell whether someone has committed a rape or a defilement, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, why? Because it is not very appealing, because it doesn't have money. There is not much money people can eat from that, Madam Speaker, and it does not have the interest of the nation. Madam Speaker, we have to change this, and we have to get to a point where every county can be able to process DNA samples to ensure that we have these culprits behind bars, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that case really pained me, because when you get a culprit who gets arrested, then tomorrow they are out on bail of 200, of 50,000, of 100,000, they go back to the families and taunt them. They actually tell them, you can do nothing to me, Madam Speaker. And I know people have said women should walk away, but how many are able to do that? Because others follow them, even when they try to walk away from relationships, Madam Speaker. And I say that as someone who has walked away from one which was violent, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, they will follow you, they will tap your phone, they will actually call your friends, they will threaten you. And if you don't have the financial independence, you are not able to walk away. So I would actually say that we are not doing well. We must loop in the judiciary. This issue of just giving them bail and they walk is another problem, Madam Speaker. You go to the police, gender desk are mere desks. Actually, I think they even moved the desks from the police, Madam Speaker, because the idea was to give women a safe place to actually report these issues when they happen. And it is not happening. The judiciary must have a fast lane to actually be able to curb the issue of gender-based violence. That also applies to boys and men, Madam Speaker, that we also have safe spaces where they can report and talk about it, because the stigma is quite huge and it is associated by reporting any abuse meted on men or boys. Madam Speaker, that for me stood out. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is of course the economic growth. I hope that we can be able to translate these to the pockets of Kenyans so that they can feel what the President is talking about and not just percentages. That way we'll be able to feel, and we'll not need to say, even on the newspapers, we'll be able to feel and see members doing well and the public thriving, Madam Speaker. I thank you for that opportunity.
The Honorable